Today we celebrate the anniversary of a milestone that placed Kuwait firmly on the global humanitarian map. On September 9th of 2014, the United Nations recognized the state of Kuwait as a humanitarian center, a title that reflects decades of generosity and a strong commitment to supporting people in need across the world. This recognition was not simply a title, but the outcome of a consistent policy built on compassion, humanitarian diplomacy, and meaningful international partnership. It highlights Kuwait's unique role in balancing relief efforts at home and abroad, and in turning solidarity into sustained global commitment. And to this day, the state of Kuwait continues to uphold this path, responding to crises, extending support to vulnerable communities, and carrying forward a humanitarian vision that transcends beyond borders. Let's go back 11 years, that defined moment when Kuwait was first honored with this historic designation in the special report.
Every year on the 9th of September, the state of Kuwait marks the anniversary of a title unlike any other in the records of the United Nations, a humanitarian center. Granted in 2014, this recognition did not come by chance. It was the result of decades of unwavering commitment to relief, compassion, and solidarity in the face of global crises. Kuwait has constantly stood among the first to respond without discrimination and without conditions. This honor reflects more than a record of generosity. It represents a distinctive model of humanitarian action, one that balances immediate aid with political responsibility and active international cooperation. It is a model where humanity and diplomacy are not separate paths, but two sides of the same mission. For years, Kuwait's presence has been felt where the world's needs are most urgent, whether in refugee camps, in disaster-stricken regions, or in emergencies where hope hangs in the balance. In each of these moments, Kuwait has not only given resources, but also built trust, working alongside partners to create sustainable solutions that last beyond the crisis. Today, this title carries even greater meaning as Kuwait continues to respond to urgent humanitarian needs, from its national campaign to support the people of Gaza, to relief efforts in Sudan, Turkey and Lebanon, reaffirming that its humanitarian commitment is active, present and unwavering. To be called a humanitarian center is to be recognized as a nation with a living conscience, ready to act, ready to stand with those in need, and ready to hold the dignity of every human life. On this anniversary, the state of Kuwait does not simply recall the past, it renews its promise. A promise that humanitarian action will remain not a campaign, not a temporary effort, but a national identity, a political principle, and an international trust upheld year after year.
To further highlight the dimensions of Kuwait's humanitarian journey, it is our pleasure to host distinguished representative of the United Nations organizations working here in the state of Kuwait. Of course, with us is Ms. Nasreen Rubayyan, the representative of the United Nations Commissioner for Refugees in the state of Kuwait, as well as Mr. Mazen Abul Hussein, Head of Mission of the International Organization for Migration in the state of Kuwait. It's a pleasure having you both with us here today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bay'an, as you served in Kuwait for 4 years to date, tell us why Kuwait and what makes it a humanitarian center in your opinion?
Thank you so much, Abdul Rahim, and thank you for hosting us in Kuwait TV too. That's a very interesting question because actually on the 1st of September I'll finish the 4th year of me being in Kuwait, and I am actually privileged to be here. What is unique about Kuwait, now we are marking the 11th anniversary of recognizing Kuwait as a humanitarian hub. And what is special about Kuwait, that the humanitarian status for Kuwait is recognized by the international community. It's not a self-declared status. It's not a status that was declared by Kuwaitis or by Kuwait. It's a status that is declared to Kuwait by the international community. And that is not for no reason. That comes for a lot of reasons. For Kuwait leading a humanitarian role, 11th anniversary of humanitarian hub with sincere journey in the humanitarian giving, with serving millions of refugees and displaced around the globe, not necessarily limited within a region, but serving refugees and displaced based on their need, based on the humanitarian requirements. What is special about Kuwait, because why Kuwait, is that Kuwait pledge and it honors its pledging. It doesn't pledge support to the humanitarian and then it goes back. It pledge, and it is one of the leading countries that always honor any pledge of support and assistance to those in need.
And committed.
And commitment, of course. So why Kuwait? I can think of zillions of reasons of why Kuwait, but it is a privilege to serve in this country, recognized globally as a humanitarian hub. Thank you.
And Mr. Abul Hussein, if I may, how do you evaluate the role of the state of Kuwait as a humanitarian center in supporting human mobility issues at both the regional and international level?
First of all, thank you so much, Abdul Rahim, for hosting us in your program. And allow me to congratulate the state of Kuwait for marking the 11th anniversary by naming it as a humanitarian center. I think, as my colleague Nasreen has mentioned, the role of Kuwait is very well appreciated at the global level. And that's why the nomination of Kuwait as a humanitarian center. In addition to support of displaced people, of migrants, and of the people in need, Kuwait plays a very important role in the humanitarian diplomacy. So in addition to supporting the programmatic areas of all the United Nations agencies, what is important about Kuwait is its commitment to the international humanitarian law, its commitment to the humanitarian values that unfortunately we are seeing recently that many of the people are forgetting about these values. So committing to the humanitarian values, being the voice of people in need, and being the voice of those who are in need of humanitarian support makes Kuwait's role very well appreciated at the global platform.
Mr. Mazen Abul Hussein, we will maybe touch base on what you just said later on, because I would like to get into details, but aimed at the recurring global crisis, how does Kuwait contribute in the humanitarian emergency responses implemented by the International Organization for Migration?
For sure, our partnership with Kuwait has been for several years. We have been in Kuwait for almost 30 years. And throughout these years, Kuwait have been supporting in many areas. And when I'm talking about many areas, I'm talking about geographical areas, but also about humanitarian assistance. Kuwait have been supporting us in many countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Syria, Turkey, Lebanon, Ukraine even, through a humanitarian program that we were providing. These humanitarian programs cover the needs that we identify at the ground, including access to services, including access to education, access to health, support to infrastructure. And throughout the last 10 years, Kuwait has supported us with more than $55 million These projects aim to support 100,000 of people. And to give you a very small example, during the earthquake that happened in Turkey and Syria in 2023, Kuwait has pledged a huge amount of funds that reached a lot of people. From our side, as International Organization of Migration, we were able to support inside Syria more than 60,000 persons. These people had access to non-food items, but most importantly, they had access to housing. Because of the earthquake, both people in Syria and in Turkey have issue with the housing. And through the funds that we receive from Kuwait, people were living in a dignified way by accessing shelter and by accessing non-food items that were very important and very much needed after the earthquake.
Interesting. Ms. Rubayyan, given the growing challenges faced by refugees worldwide, how does the UN Higher Commission for Refugees, in coordination with the State of Kuwait, contribute to emergency responses? And if you can provide examples of that, please.
So what I like about being in Kuwait and speaking of our partnership with Kuwait as a key donor to support humanitarian situations, and with the growing challenges, we speak now of 123 million refugees and displaced worldwide. Back in 2010, we reported 40 million. So you can see the comparison with them. But what I like about Kuwait and me being here for 4 years, they adopt what they call a whole of society approach. Everybody in Kuwait has the genuine and sincere sense of philanthropy. So for me, we're very proud to have our partnership with the private sector. I mean, we do have with the government through Kuwait Fund, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have great examples, like my colleague mentioned, the earthquake of Turkey, where Kuwait was one of the first respondents but also we have Gaza recently, that amazing campaign of Gaza that gathered around 12 million Kuwaiti dinar. Now for UNHCR, we have great partnership also with the civil society and the charity organizations. We have annual campaigns. Despite all the growing challenges, despite all the shifting priorities in the humanitarian situations, these campaigns are sustained. We have in support of the winterization campaigns with Sheikh Abdullah Nouri charity, and we have the support of the Rohingya refugees. Who speaks about Rohingya refugees these days? And it's still a situation that is maintained to be priority for Kuwaitis, even if it's not highlighted globally or seeks that attraction. So for the also 5th year, we have our campaign with a Tanmiya Foundation. On Syria, the recent example, the return to Syria, we have our first response that came from an amazing partner, Nama charity also, to support returnees to Syria after we saw the recent changes since December. So we are very proud of the partnership that we have established here in Kuwait. And as I said, I repeated, I mean, anyone who sees my interviews will always hear me say that. I see that philanthropy is in the DNA of every Kuwaiti.
It's part of our culture.
Yes, it's part of your culture, and for that we're very privileged to be partners with these amazing partners here. Thank you.
That's amazing. We will continue our discussion. I would like to go to a phone call now to get another insight. Among the many forms of humanitarian assistance, ensuring food security for the most vulnerable remains a top priority. To shed light on Kuwait's role in this field, we are now joined over the phone by Mr. Omar Al Isa, Head of World Food Program in the state of Kuwait. Mr. Al Isa, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you and good evening, and thank you for having me.
As the state of Kuwait holds the United Nations designation of humanitarian center, how have its food assistance effort impacted humanitarian response in recent crises?
Okay, so the reality is that humanitarian action has become deeply associated with Kuwait's name ever since the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon honored the late Emir Sheikh Sabah with the title of humanitarian leader. That recognition went beyond the individual. It elevated Kuwait's global standing as a humanitarian center. In recent crisis, Kuwait's generous contributions have enabled WFP to deliver life-saving food assistance to people in some of the world's most difficult and urgent emergencies. What makes Kuwait's role remarkable in that this support often comes at the most critical moment, fast and flexible, and with direct impact on saving lives and restoring hope.
Now, looking ahead, what steps can further strengthen Kuwait's role in advancing food security within the broader humanitarian mission?
So today, Kuwait stands on a strong humanitarian legacy built under the leadership of Kuwait, one that reflects not only generosity in times of crisis, but also a vision for long-term impact. Looking ahead, Kuwait has the opportunity to further strengthen its role in food security by pairing its humanitarian contribution with investments that build resilience. This can mean supporting school feeding programs that give children both nourishment and a chance at education. Also promoting sustainable agriculture that helps communities stand on their own feet. And also improving supply chains so food can reach people even in that hardest condition. And forging innovative partnerships with the private sector. By moving in this direction, Kuwait will continue to honor its recognition as a humanitarian center, not only by saving lives in emergency, but also by helping to secure stability, dignity, and hope for future generations.
Mr. Omar Isa, head of the World Food Program at the State of Kuwait, we thank you for your insights.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, from food security to health, Kuwait's humanitarian role covers the most essential needs, as humanitarian work cannot be complete without a fundamental pillar, which is health, especially in times of crisis. Dr. Asad Hafid, the representative of the World Health Organization in the state of Kuwait, shares his perspective on this vital aspect.
Every year, 9th of September is recognized as Kuwait Humanitarian Center Day. In 2014, the then General Secretary of United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, recognized Kuwait as a humanitarian center, and this title was given to Kuwait during that time. And since then, every year, this is the 11th year now, that this occasion is commemorated by multiple activities. Kuwait has been a great contributor to the humanitarian cause, not only in the region, but across the globe. Kuwait uses multiple instruments for this through its foreign ministry, through Kuwait Fund, through Kuwait Red Crescent Society, and organizations like Zakat Fund, who contribute not only to the developmental side, but also very greatly to the humanitarian aid, which is given to different countries in conflict or in disaster. This has happened in collaboration with WHO, specifically in the recent past in Yemen, in Syria, in Turkey, and so many other countries where Kuwait has worked along World Health Organization to provide that very critically required support to the communities which have been impacted by conflict and disaster. We're hoping that this relationship and this contribution of Kuwait would continue in future, where unfortunately in the era where we are living, the conflict and disasters are increasing every day. So I'm wishing and we would like to congratulate the leadership of Kuwait for their role in this global cause.
As Dr. Asad Hafiz highlighted, health remains a cornerstone of humanitarian response. It also connects directly with the broader efforts we see here in Kuwait through international cooperation. Now back to my guest in the studio. Mr. Abul Hassan, what are the most pressing challenges facing displaced people in the region, and how does the IMO works to address them?
Well, unfortunately, the humanitarian needs are increasing worldwide. And when the humanitarian needs increase, that means that the challenges will be increasing as well. If we look at what we have been addressing the needs this year, we have been working in 42 countries that are facing crisis around the world, which is a huge number. And 42 countries mean millions of people who are displaced. The challenges are so many. And if we want to classify them, maybe we need many hours. But if I want to categorize, let me start first of all by the time the crisis is taking to be sorted out. Without political solution, the crises are prolonging. We are seeing so many crises going toward years, which is creating sometimes a competing priorities for the agencies and for the donors as well, where to invest and where to provide funds, because the needs are huge. So this is the first challenge. The second challenge is the lack of the funding. Unfortunately, with the increased needs around the world, the funding is decreasing, but the needs are still there. So this is one of the most important challenges we are seeing around the world. We have seen Dr. Assad also, we have heard him talking about the health needs. Unfortunately, one of the challenges we are facing is the attack on the humanitarian working, including the health workers. We have seen it in Gaza, we are seeing it in Sudan, where the hospitals have been attacked, where the humanitarian worker, the doctor, the nurses, and this is a very important challenge that we are facing. In addition to that, sometimes we are facing security issues where the humanitarian needs are not able to access people due to political obstacle or to security issues. All these are the challenges that all the humanitarian community, not only us as the UN Migration Agency, but all together with other UN sister agencies, with the NGOs, with all those providing assistance, we are trying to address. We are trying to address it through a coordinated effort. We are trying to address it through advocacy, through we are trying to lobby with the international community to have access to those who are in need. We are trying to advocate for additional funding to be providing, but most important, we are trying to request that the individuals are well protected, that people have access to the basic needs that they have, be it basic services, education, health, or food security, as my colleague Omar has mentioned also during the call.
As you said, the more it prolongs, the more issue it causes. As we notice currently with Gaza, we've reached the famine period of people not getting the necessary food in time. With the blockade is affecting health, and it only goes downhill from there. Now, Mr. Wayan, how was the government's humanitarian vision translated through your coordination with institutions and private sector in Kuwait?
Well, as I said, the good thing about Kuwait and the vision of Kuwait and the Kuwaitis also clearly reflected in the vision of the leadership in Kuwait, is that the humanitarian given is open for all. So we as United Nations, as UNHCR, we have an open doors to reach to all the private sector, in all the segments of the private sector. As I said before, we have, it's actually in Kuwait now that I have seen this, we have 2 annual campaigns, and for the 5th year, a sustained annual campaigns. When Lebanon, last year with the war on Lebanon, within 48 hours, we were able to get the support from the government and from the charities to launch a campaign in support of Lebanon, and it actually was a very successful campaign that supported multiple thousands of families inside Lebanon in need of shelter, in need of different sectorial interventions. I see also the charities in Kuwait are well educated about the humanitarian, and this is because, as I said before, of the whole of society approach. We reach out to all the segments here with open door, authorized, welcomed by the government of Kuwait. And that only reflects the Kuwait vision as a humanitarian partner, as a humanitarian in the humanitarian giving.
Now, Mr. Abul Hassan, back to what we were discussing earlier. To what extent does Kuwait support IOM effort to find durable solution for the people affected by forced displacement or irregular migration?
When we are talking about the humanitarian support, we don't only talk about addressing the urgent needs, because this is very important to address the shelter, to address the food, to address the basic needs. But what we are always looking at and what we are trying to negotiate or to discuss with the counterpart from the Kuwaiti government is how to address the durable solution. And when we are talking about the durable solution, we are talking about long-term assistance. We are talking about how to make sure that the countries where we are receiving the support, and this support can be through supporting the infrastructure. For example, we have recently signed an agreement with the Kuwait Fund for Arab and Economic Development for Yemen, mainly to look at the infrastructure. And when we are talking about infrastructure, we are talking about how to rehabilitate the health facilities, how to rehabilitate the schools, how to make sure that communities, when they are returning to their place of origin, or when they are living in certain condition, are also receiving long-term solution, because so many people, after being displaced for a few months or few years, and after we supported them with the urgent needs, they need to settle. And when they settle, they need to have access to livelihood. They need to have access to infrastructure that provide them water, that provide them sanitation. And here, I think, comes the role of Kuwait Fund for Arab Development and also the state of Kuwait by supporting the durable solution and supporting the long-term program that we are aiming to implement in partnership with the state of Kuwait.
I just want to clarify something. Was there ever a psychological help provided, especially in Gaza as well lately?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning this point, because this is something very crucial for us. For any work that we are doing, we are always advocating and implementing what we call mental health and psychosocial support. Because in addition to the urgent needs, the mental health and psychosocial support is something very important. And this is something that we provide for the whole community. We provide it for children, but also we focus on women and men. And when we talk about psychosocial support, it can be for individuals by providing them psychological first aid, by providing them counseling, but also working on the community, because it's very important on the longer term to look at the family as a whole, to look at the community as a whole by establishing community centers, psychosocial support center, to do recreational activities for the kids, to do educational activities, to link psychosocial support with the livelihood. So this is a crucial part of the work that we are providing as UN Migration Agency.
Interesting. Now, considering the escalating climate change, I mean, what is the IOM's role in supporting strategies for adopting to environmental migration, or the so-called climate-induced displacement?
Yes, one of the issue or the hot topic that we are facing now is a displacement due to the climate change. We are going to COP30 in Brazil in the coming months, and one of the points that you would like to highlight is how to make sure that human mobility that is a result of climate change is included in all the national development plan of the countries that are impacted. Especially here we are talking about the countries that are impacted by the drought, the country that are impacted by the flooding. It's very important for them to work on the mitigation aspect. What are the policy support that we can provide through our technical expertise for these countries to make sure that the human mobility caused by the climate displacement is including in the strategies. Not only that, but also to work with the communities. It's very important to work with the communities to build their capacity on what are the things that they need to do in advance to any climate displacement, but also if the flooding is happening, if let's say the drought is happening, how to build the capacity of the communities so they will be somehow resilient to address any of these challenges that they will face.
We're entering winter season as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, our discussion is valuable. I will just pause here to take a phone call and we'll continue. as a coordination between international and local actors remains a decisive factor in the effectiveness of humanitarian work. Now joining us from Kuwait is Ms. Noor Al-Gattan, Head of Office of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in the state of Kuwait, to share their role in supporting humanitarian efforts regionally and globally, especially through its partnership with the state of Kuwait. Now, Ms. Noor Al-Gattan, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
How does the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs view the role of the state of Kuwait within the regional and international humanitarian coordination system?
The state of Kuwait, of course, plays a vital and widely recognized role in both regional and international and global humanitarian efforts. And not only because of its generous contributions, but also due to its strategic commitment to multilateral cooperation, including through the UN. And Kuwait has consistently demonstrated leadership in responding to crises, whether in the Middle East or beyond, and has been instrumental in also convening high-level pledging conferences, including for the Syria crisis and Iraq. We have also bared witness to its generosity more recently this year, where it has provided life-saving assistance to those most in need around the world, including in places such as Gaza, Syria, and Sudan. And additionally, in terms of supporting coordinated efforts, Kuwait also supports what we call in the UN pooled funds, which has really two main purposes. So they contribute to our funds that then support two things, which would include the first being underfunded emergencies. As we are aware, there are a lot of crises and humanitarian needs are extremely high. So a lot of the times, some responses are better funded than others. So when there's an underfunded emergency or an underfunded, let's say, sector in a specific country, the pooled funds would then support such emergencies. And another way they support, the funds also support sudden onset emergencies, such as floods, earthquakes. So when a sudden emergency happens, funds and support is then quickly dispatched through this support or through this mechanism. So Kuwait's ability to bridge regional dynamics with global priorities makes it a crucial partner in ensuring timely, principled, and effective humanitarian responses.
Ms. Noor Al-Gattan, Head of Office of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, we thank you for your valuable input.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As we have just heard, the coordination between international and local actors is vital to the effectiveness of humanitarian work. With this in mind, let's go back to our guests in the studio. Ms. Rubayyan, how do you see the alignment between Kuwait media policies and the portrayal of refugee causes along the designation of Kuwait as a humanitarian center?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Kuwait media in all its outlets, TV, newspapers, social media, for being or having been an excellent sustained partner for UNHCR. I must say, media amplifies the voices of refugees. It's not us, it is the media who would be able to amplify the voices of 123 million displaced persons worldwide. Throughout the past 4 years, we have been receiving an excellent support from the media in highlighting the humanitarian crisis in all its challenges, in all its diversified situations, being in Bangladesh, being in Syria, being in Yemen, being in Afghanistan, being in the Ukrainian situation. The media has been a sustained partner for us to amplify the voices of refugees. That, of course, aligns with the media Kuwait vision strategy, because we always hear, when we listen to various actors with His Excellency, the Minister of Information, we always see and observe how humanitarian issues is a priority for the media. So it's a reflection. It's a reflection of the vision. And I was just meeting actually with His Excellency last week, and we've got an excellent discussion where it was clear to us how humanitarian stand as a priority for the Kuwaiti media in all the media outlets. So, and that's a reflection, of course, of Kuwait being a humanitarian hub and a humanitarian center, because this does not only reflect the policies of government or the public or the humanitarian actors. It's reflect every single Kuwaiti individual, including the media as a partner.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Abu Hassan, how can Kuwait media contribute to raising public awareness on the complexities of migration and displacement, and if there are any joint initiative the IOM is partaking?
Well, first of all, allow me to join my colleague Nasreen by acknowledging the role of the media. So Nasreen have been here for 4 years, I have been here for 5 years, and all what can I say that the media have played a very important role in advocating for the humanitarian causes that both our agencies and other UN agencies are working with. So you see us often in the newspaper, you see us often in the TV, either in the English programs or the Arabic program, but also on social media. And this is one of the part that how the media is contributing to our work. By amplifying all the stories that we are sharing, by shedding the light on the humanitarian needs around the world, by talking about the World Humanitarian Day, by acknowledging the work of the United Nations inside Kuwait and outside Kuwait. So I think this is something very important on how the media is contributing. And in addition to the traditional media like TV and the newspaper, the media is playing a very important role through the social media by engaging with the youth through all the platform, either through Instagram or X or Facebook or LinkedIn. So they are contributing a lot by covering all the stories, by covering all the needs, and by covering any kind of humanitarian appeal that we are trying to talk about. Like, for example, last year they covered two of the conferences that we did together with UNHCR and other agencies that have been in the call with you today in the program, to shed the light on the needs in Pakistan, in Syria, and in Turkey. So I think the contribution of the media is huge, and then there is a lot of potential to work more with the media. I can give the example, we as the UN Migration Agency that we did with the media 3 years ago, we did a training for the media on how to cover issues of the humanitarian response, issue of migration, issue of displacement, and such kind of training, it attracted a lot of attention from the media outlets, because the trainers were coming from all around the world, but also from professors inside Kuwait, which is something very important that we are always trying to talk about, especially with the young generation, because so many of them are interested to be part of the media, but also to be the voices of those in need, be it refugees or migrants or displaced people.
I mean, your work here is impeccable, and it's beyond words to explain. We wish we had enough time to sit and talk into more details. But before we let you go, if you have any message you would like to convey to Kuwait from your mission.
Yes, from my side, first of all, I would like to thank the media for covering all the humanitarian stories and the humanitarian needs around the world. And I would like to reaffirm our commitment to work very closely with the state of Kuwait to address the needs around the world, because these needs are not temporary. Unfortunately, they are continuous. And for us to be able to deliver, we rely on the generosity and on the partnership of the member states, including the state of Kuwait, to have sustainable cooperation, because the needs are huge, they are enormous, and without the generous support of the state of Kuwait, we are not able to fulfill our mandate. So our message is a message of thanks, but also a message of reaffirming cooperation and partnership with the state of Kuwait.
Absolutely. Mr. Bayan, your final thoughts?
So, in addition to what my colleague said, Mazen, I would like to just say something. We are now, in these very challenging times, facing what we call a deadly cocktail.
Yes.
A deadly cocktail of increasing humanitarian needs. We have unresolved humanitarian situations protracted since decades ago. in addition to these unresolved humanitarian protracted situations like Afghanistan, for example, we have new situations. We have Gaza, we have Ukraine, we have Sudan, that have a new situation that are unresolved. So this deadly cocktail is also is the increasing humanitarian situations and the decreasing funds. Where there is, when we say nothing harder than to be a humanitarian, our commissioner just quoted that, but when we have a global pledge of around $10 billion, only 20% of these fulfilled by contributions. We are talking around 12 million refugees at risk of losing their assistance, life-saving assistance, if we are talking now about humanitarian assistance. So we are having around 12 million refugees at risk of losing their life-saving assistance. And this is why there is no more urgent times than now to call for the continuation of the support to help saving lives. So on this humanitarian occasion, we call on the generous support of our Kuwait and the Kuwaitis to continue their sincere journey of decades, actually, to support millions and millions of displaced persons who were displaced because of lack of political solutions to their situations, and where humanitarian is responding to the impact of these crises that were created. And thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. I mean, we hope things get elevated to a much lesser dire situation. I know it's getting more complex as time progresses, but inshallah the state of Kuwait is committed and it's hold up its pledges, and we'll see a lot of great work happening in the future. Now, it's been a pleasure to have you here both in the studio to have this discussion, and we hope to see you here with us again on many occasions. Now with us was Ms. Nasreen Rubi'an, the UN Higher Commissioner for the Refugees in the state of Kuwait, along with Mr. Mazen Abul Hassan, Head of Mission of the International Organization for Migration in the state of Kuwait. We deeply appreciate your contributions.
Thank you.
With these testimonies we have heard today, it is a renewed international recognition of Kuwait's role as a key humanitarian actor on the global stage, from supporting refugees and migrants to strengthening food security and health. The state of Kuwait continues to stand as a model of comprehensive humanitarian action. Thank you for joining us.